What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of stuff over the last 24 hours has really happened. We're going to go ahead and cover all of it for you guys. What we have going on is there is a tropical wave expected to come off the coast of Africa in the next day or so. We're going to go ahead and show you the satellite imagery of the eastern Atlantic. It's this tropical wave right here that is coming off the coast of Africa. This is the one we've been waiting for. It is coming off right now, and we are anticipating some potential development according to multiple models that I have been seeing. We're going to go ahead and start off straight with the European run, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the rest of them. The European run has this thing coming off the coast of Africa pretty much right now, and starting in about 72 hours or so, it starts to organize, and it starts to develop a low-pressure system, and then things are a bit buggy here and there, but it does finally get some good precipitation. It starts to organize, and it starts to develop. It's kind of off and on right here. The signal's kind of off and off according to the European right here, but by the time it gets to the Antilles, it does start to show a lot of signs of organization right here. You can see it. You can see this wave going through right here. This wave is actually enters the Caribbean and is expected, according to the European 10 days out, expected to make a close pass to Puerto Rico and potentially bring some impacts over there. So we're going to have to monitor that, but keep in mind this is 10 days out, so we still need to pay attention to it, but take it with a grain of salt for now. So, but we'll continue to monitor it for sure. We'll go ahead and next show you the Icon run and kind of give you a bit of a comparison. The Icon run does only go out 180 hours out. This tropical wave does start to organize and develop nevertheless. And the Icon has this low-pressure system pretty much there the whole time. And by about 150 hours out, you start seeing some more organization, potential tropical storm strength right here at 1,006 millibars, potentially 40, 45 miles per hour. Then things really start to get intense as the gradient starts to intensify a bit more. By 174 hours out, we're seeing 1,005 millibars, gradient starting to really show on the model right here. And we're looking at a potential tropical storm, a weak tropical storm at least, according to the Icon. The European had around a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm based off of the pressure alone. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the NavGem run because the NavGem 0Z is now showing potential development right here. So this is a first right here. This is a breaking story on Pat's Path Predictor right here. The NavGem is starting to kind of match what the European and Icon and the CMC is showing as well. The NavGem is showing this development right here. It remains around tropical depression to a weak tropical storm strength right here, but this is 180 hours out, so it's definitely something to pay attention to. All these models are calling for potential development right here, so this is something we absolutely need to monitor, and I would not be surprised if the National Hurricane Center puts out an area of interest either tonight or tomorrow. So that's what we have going on with that. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the CMC run. And the CMC run, last time I checked, has been pretty interesting to say at the very least. The CMZ run we have right here, this thing starts organizing and developing actually in less than 3 days right here. And then it takes a little bit of time to organize and all of that, but then by the time it does, things really start to ramp up in intensity right here. This is what we have going on right here, 1006. Already, we're 186 hours out, and it's already calling for a potentially moderate tropical storm around 50, 60 mile per hour winds. But then by 198 hours out, things start to really ramp up in intensity, and by the time we get to 9 days out, we're already looking at very strong tropical storm strength right here, but this keeps going. It gets down to a 991 millibar hurricane, Category 1 hurricane, and we'll go ahead and show you the 850 millibar height and wind with this. We're looking at around 80 knots of wind at 850 millibars, which equates down to around 80 to 85 miles per hour as a Category 1 hurricane with the standard deduction of around 10%. So, yeah, things are really starting to ramp up, and the CMC has been leading the charge. Usually it's like the GFS or something, but the GFS isn't really showing that much going on compared to all these other models that we have been showing you. What's even more interesting is the European chart. We have the weekly mean tropical cyclone strike probability. We're now cracking 60% in a large area right here, according to what the European has for next week. So things are starting to get together. They're starting to ramp up in intensity. we need to pay attention to this. What we also need to pay attention to is the factors working for and against this development. Global sea temperatures, 30 plus degrees Celsius through the Gulf, through the northwestern Caribbean, all the way to Haiti and the Dominican Republic, through much of the Atlantic, including all the Bahamas. 30 degrees Celsius for parts of the main development region and the Caribbean. Over here, there's a few isolated areas of that. But all around 28 plus degrees Celsius temperatures from North Carolina all the way to Africa. Now we have the ocean heat content map, and if the European is correct and it moves through the Antilles and potentially Puerto Rico, it's moving through a stronger area of ocean heat content of 125 plus OHC. So if the other components, such as the shear and the moisture components, they do pretty well and they give it low wind shear and moist enough air, this thing could potentially intensify at a pretty decent pace across parts of the Caribbean and parts of the Atlantic over here. Definitely something to monitor right here, but we need to continue to look at this. And here's what we have for the wind shear for today. Wind shear across the MDR, things are pretty mixed right now. In the western MDR, it's pretty much little to nothing right here. The eastern Atlantic, we are seeing a bit more shear, but it's further to the south of this tropical wave. That's what we have going on. Here's the shear forecast for the next 10 days. We're going to go ahead and start about 48 hours out. This is when this tropical wave is pretty much fully off the coast of Africa. Still pretty good shear across much of this over here. Here's when things start to really ramp up. The European has this potentially starting to develop about 54 hours out, and then we have pretty much little to no shear for the first little while. There appears to be a bit of shear that starts to develop, but that's more of an inflow effect than it is anything, I've been told. So definitely something to pay attention to, but if you're seeing like 20 to 30 knots of shear, it's probably around 15 or so because of that inflow and outflow that's going on. So definitely something to monitor, but overall nothing that bad for this thing to develop. I want to go ahead and cross-check this with the moisture component, the relative humidity. And yeah, this thing is in a pretty decent moisture pocket until it gets to even when it gets to the Caribbean, it's still in a pretty decent moisture pocket going forward. There is a little bit of a potential dry air intrusion by the time it gets to the Caribbean, but the Sahara dust is so depleted compared to where we were last month. It shouldn't have too many issues developing by the time it gets fully into the MDR because of that moisture pocket we have right there. So there are a lot of signs of potential development with this system right here. Definitely something we need to continue monitoring, but please take these model runs with a grain of salt. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the European ensemble run to see what this is going for. In the European ensemble, the latest for the 0Z we have, as you can see, we have all these ensembles right here. A lot of these remain very concentrated, especially for 10 days out or so, about 9 to 10 days out. These are quite concentrated for the time right here. So the European's pretty confident that something's going to happen. Of the 51 model ensembles that I've been shown, at least 35 of them are calling for tropical development. But by the time we get this far out, it decreases considerably to around 15 to 20% or so. Still a chance is there and something we absolutely need to monitor, but by the time we get out to 9 days out, the chances do decrease due to basically the error of the model. Now I'll show you the GFS ensemble we have right here. The GFS ensemble has been quite conservative compared to the other ensembles we have seen, compared to the other operational models we've seen, but the GFS still has potential for development with few scenarios, like about 4 to 5 scenarios are calling for something potentially to happen. So it's not ruling it out entirely, but the operational's like, we don't have enough evidence yet. And we'll continue to update you here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. As soon as this thing starts to develop, you'll be the first to know. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new, turn on notifications, and leave a like if you enjoyed it. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather, and if you want to come hang out with us on Storms United and see the behind the scenes and how we make these videos, join the Discord server. Link's right over there. But with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.